Maki coming through and showing her true prowess after getting the boost of power from Mai taking away the cursed energy, and her socking Naoya at the end is so insane. There's a lot of revelations and new things we find out with Toji. There's things we find out of what Naoya thinks, what maybe Satoru Gojo thinks, and this chapter is heavily action heavy too. I mean, I really want to get into this because there's a lot of interesting things here. But man, Maki coming through and just she's been amazing these past couple chapters. It's literally just on some Kill Bill shit. It's insane, right? So let's get into it, right? So we start the chapter off with Naoya, and this is a flashback, I guess you could say. And so essentially what happens is he's thinking back, he's talking to himself like, I'm a genius, like I'm pretty much setting myself up to be the next head of the family, but I hear that there's this failure in the Zenin clan, someone that doesn't even have an ounce of cursed energy. I wonder what he's like. I wonder how disheartened of a man he would be. I wonder what sort of miserable face he would have, right? And then you see Naoya kind of shocked, and you get Toji stoic, looking like a 100% Chad. I'm telling you guys, I love Toji. One of my top characters in JJK, S tier character. But he's looking stoic, and his eyes show nothing but just, oh my god, it's badass. It's badass. And that's the first thing he remembers the first time he meets Toji and the family. And then we get the hands being thrown between Maki and Naoya, and then it starts off saying you are, and this is in Naoya's head. And then I'm looking at this, right? I see 3 4 5 9 10 11. Now I think this is Maki counting the frames down, I want to say. But so right now they're both moving at top speed, because you got to remember this is Naoya probably activating his technique, which yes it is. So Maki actually deflects a couple of punches from Naoya, and then Naoya touches Maki using his palm, and of course, you know, with projection sorcery, if you get touched by the palm of someone using projection sorcery, you have to abide by their rules or you freeze for a whole second. And of course, Maki's trying to defend herself, so she doesn't abide by the rules, so she gets turned into a frame, and then she gets kicked, and she gets kicked. I mean, it looks like something out of DBZ. She gets kicked across the whole Zenin estate. Holy crap, right? And then Naoya, I look back at this again. He's got this whole projection sorcery activating every time. So here's what's happening, right? He kicks Maki. Maki's flying. Naoya is already landed, right? But you see him kind of turn and feint. And so he's already made his next projection of how he's going to hit Maki, right? And he hits her while she's still in the air. So he's moving incredibly fast right now. And then he says, again, you are. And then kicks Maki to the ground, right? And she's on, looks like the edge of a cliff. And then you move on to the next panel. And then you see Maki's eye open, and she's saying 6, 7, 8, 13, 14. So in her head, she's counting down these frames, right? These frames per second. And then Naoya in his head, you are not Toji-kun. And then we get some inner monologue, and this is something I want to quickly touch on, because this I find very, very interesting, right? The sin of a small fry is not understanding what true strength is. Maybe that's why no one could understand Toji-kun, except perhaps Satoru-kun. Now, I was really thinking about this. I'm like, man, what does he mean about that? The sin of a small fry, that small fry being Toji, is not understanding what true strength is. Maybe that's why no one could understand Toji except perhaps Satoru. And what I got from this, and maybe someone in the comments let me know what you got, but what I got from this is no matter how hard Toji worked, you're in this jujutsu world where cursed energy, cursed technique rules over everything. It doesn't matter. People are going to look at you different. They're going to look down upon you because you don't have these techniques that have been passed down for generations through these families, and it just these unique techniques, and you don't have cursed energy, but you're trying to battle and you're trying to compete while you have nothing, right? And then he says maybe that's why no one could understand Toji. And what I got from this is Toji wanted to prove something to his family, to the jujutsu world, right? And if we go back to the Star Plasma Vessel arc, we got some inner monologue from Toji when he got defeated by Gojo. He wanted to prove himself, right? He wanted to basically prove himself. If this was Toji thinking like he always thinks, he would have never fought Gojo after he survived. He would have ran away, but his pride got in the way, because he was like, look, this is the guy that you guys say is the best jujutsu sorcerer in the world, and I just killed him. And then he comes back, as he comes back alive, and for him, his pride is telling him, look, I can beat him, I can do this, I want to prove myself. When he would never let pride get in the way. He would never let something that petty get in the way, but it got in the way. And that's what got him killed, because he continued the fight. And that's what I think is meant by saying maybe that's why no one can understand Toji, except perhaps Satoru Gojo. And thinking about how would Gojo understand Toji, and thinking about it, Gojo's at the top, right? So he knows what it's like to be at the top. He knows what it's like to be the best. And maybe he can understand Toji for all the efforts he's putting in, why he wants to become the best as well. Because Gojo is looking at it from a stance of, look, I'm the best sorcerer that's ever been born. I have perfected this technique. I cannot be touched. And maybe being so high up on a pedestal, he could see someone like Toji, why he would want to do what he does, because he wants to become the best. He wants to be able to prove himself. So I think that's kind of what that's saying. And I find these couple lines interesting, because it really fleshes out some of the characters. Even though Toji's dead, Gojo's sealed up, we still get more about them in these chapters, and it's just great. But let me know what you think in the comments about that quote, because I find that interesting, right? But let's continue on. So we get Maki on the floor. She's kind of gargling. She's like, she's hurt. And then, so I don't know what happens here exactly, but I think what basically happens is you see the crater of Maki, and she's basically disappeared. And she's disappeared, and that's because Naoya attacked her. Because I see at the top there's like this line shading, which emphasizes on something like speeding through or like wind. So Naoya hits her. So she's basically rolling on the ground after being hit. And then Toji says again, "You're not him," right? And then catches Maki, and then throws Maki against some rubble, and then again hits her, and she's on the floor. And then Naoya says in his head, "The one who will finish standing the strongest," with Gojo and Toji, right, in the background. So the one who will finish the strongest. And then Maki actually dodges Naoya's next attack, and then comes back around. This is crazy. Like, I really want to see this animated, because Maki gets up from dodging one of his attacks, but Naoya comes back around and basically smacks smacks Maki on the face with the hit. And he says, "Is me. So the one who will finish standing strongest is me." And Maki stumbles. She takes the hit. "This isn't going well," she says, right? And then we get a little bit more explanation on the projection sorcery. So projection curse technique does not allow you to move in a way that excessively breaks the laws of physics or trajectory. So, for example, if he plans point A, point B, he can't all of a sudden pivot out of that trajectory and then like go right back into it. So if it's a straight line, he can't all of a sudden zigzag left or right at that top speed and then keep going straight to the same point B. He can't do that. It has to be straight. It has to make sense. He can't defy the laws of physics, right? So the speed is also limited by the body's acceleration when activating the technique. However, when the technique is repeatedly stacked upon yourself, the speed can be increased. So what I got from this is the initial activation of the technique is dependent on the person and their body's acceleration. So in a sense, you could probably stop the projection sorcery technique at the moment you know they're about to do it if you're fast enough, right? It's possible, but what's interesting is that you can stack it and you can become faster. So what Naoya is doing is he activates the technique, stops, immediately activates, stops, immediately activates. So he's predetermining a bunch of destinations with projection sorcery, which is making him move at insane speeds, and so fast, it says in the chapter, it's at subsonic speeds. So he's crazy fast right now. And then he says, "I won't stop now. I won't screw up like last time." And again, we're getting a little bit with Naoya. He's upset about what happened against Choso, right? And he doesn't want to screw up like that again because he made a mistake. And so we see nice panel spread, by the way, of Naoya. "Power is mass and speed. I shall wipe you out using maximum speed." And you basically see like little explosions coming out of the ground. So he's hopping so quick, so fast that the ground is just tearing apart as he's moving. And then we get hands coming together and we see Shiranui style. Now I looked this up because I was like, Shiranui style, what is this? Basically it's based off of Shiranui Koman, and he was a Japanese professional sumo wrestler. So this style is something that he would perform during his sumo wrestling. Let me see. Here it is. However, it is unproven that he actually performed what is now called the Shiranui style. In fact, he is considered by most sumo historians today the organizers of the Unryu style. There's a picture of him performing the ceremony, holding his arms to his chest, which indicates the Unryu style rather than the Shiranui. Oh my god, Shiranui style, right? So essentially it's a style where you have both arms out, and I guess it's a technique to where it's a performing technique in sumo to where it's kind of like inviting the other person, and based off that, you'll react based off of what the other person does. But it's basically holding your arms out. And I'm assuming when you do that, because I tried to look at it, I couldn't find much. I'm assuming when you do that, you hold your arms out, you're able to react in a certain way, or you're trying to take on the attack of the person, right? So, let me see here. So, she does the Shiranui style, right? And then we get a little excerpt. "Mai exchanged her life in order to free her from cursed energy and gift her a body strong as steel. However, Maki has lost blood during her fight with Ogi, followed by a battle with the Hiei squad. Maki concluded that drawn-out fight with Naoya, who has already reached subsonic speed, crazy, is unfavorable for her." So she's doing this, essentially, this is her alternative to basically trying to match him in speed, because she's going to lose. So what she's trying to do here is basically, and again, let me know in the comments what you guys think, she's trying to take the hit head on, right? And from there, possibly grab Naoya and do something. And she jokingly says, "Come in for a hug." right? And but before that, Naoya says, so it's a head-on fight, you say. Then she says, coming for a hug. And then you see Naoya blasting in. You see Maki with her hands out, and she's standing there, right? Naoya slaps her on the arm, and we get an explanation. While the technique is activated, anything touched by Naoya's palm must also abide by the 1/24th SPS rule when moving. Otherwise, the target will freeze for 1 second, right? And so what I'm getting from this is when he slapped her palm, she didn't move. She abided by the rules, which is why she didn't turn into a picture frame. So because of that, she's still standing. Now Naoya comes behind her, right? And now we get some inner monologue. If they fail 1 second, Naoya is still moving at top speed. Even if it means sacrificing a rib, you plan on taking my attack head on, don't you? I won't take such a pathetically obvious bait. So, as expected, you're a fake. So Naoya's thinking that she wants to take on the attack head on, which I don't blame her for thinking that. And even if it means sacrificing like body parts, like internal injuries. Because which is why he went behind Maki, because he realized like, okay, she's trying to take on this attack, so I'm going to basically end the projection and come behind her and see if I can catch him or catch her, right? And so Naoya gets shocked, and then Maki says, it's the 24 times, isn't it? Now Bito and you are not just extremely fast. I could feel something was off. So basically what happened here is, if I could summarize, she's using the Shiranui style. He, instead of going for a full head-on attack, ends the sorcery technique by putting his palm on Maki. And she's just standing there, so she's not doing anything that's like against the technique that would get her frozen for 1 second. And then and again, she's been timing this whole thing. She's been counting. So she reacts before Naoya could do anything, because she expected Naoya to basically call her bluff, go by and like not do anything. And so because of that, she's able to react to this, right? And catches Naoya off guard. Your movements are split into 24 seconds. With this body, I can finally see them clearly. You are, and then Naoya says, hey, fuck, and then he gets hit in the face. So Maki's basically saying that, like, with this body, I can sense it. So we now get kind of confirmation that Maki's got similar senses to Toji now, in terms of just sensing things with her regular senses. She's able to sense curse technique, people, all that stuff. At least that's what we can gather from this little excerpt of her saying, your movements are split into 24 seconds. With this body, I can finally see them clearly. So she's sensing this stuff with her senses. This is someone with no curse energy. Insane. She's so similar to Toji now. So by Naoya saying you're a fake, no, she's not a fake. She is Toji incarnate. This is just confirmation of it. And then she says, sorry, can you repeat that? Unbelievable chapter. And then it ends, unmistakably a one-punch victory. She's not a fake, Naoya. She's the real deal. She is Toji. Like, no complaints about it. Right? She is not a fake. And you could tell Naoya at least has some respect for Toji. And I find it interesting. And I think he respects the grind that Toji went through to be number one, which is why he's saying, you're not Toji, you're not him. Like, I get him, but I don't get you, and you're nowhere near him. You're not him at all. So I find it interesting that Naoya has somewhat of a respect for Toji, but for him, either way, I'm going to be number one, he says. Forget about Gojo, forget about Toji. I'm going to be number one. You're a fake. You're not Toji at all. But called his bluff. Maki was studying his technique the whole time, and she was taking hits too. And again, the Shiranui style really helped, because what she was able to do was essentially say, okay, I'm basically going to sit here and allow this to happen. But now you're getting scared, went behind her, and because of that, she was able to come around and actually get a hit in, because in a way, she kind of expected that, and she's been paying attention to the technique this whole time. Wow, man, exciting chapter. I'm telling you guys, when this gets animated, it's gonna be crazy. But let me know what you think, man. Please let me know what you think in the comments. Please like the video. Man, Jujutsu Kaisen. I'm JetXC, guys. Like and subscribe, and I am out.